Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to True Crime Groove. I'm your host, Maze. This would normally be the part where I would say, with me as always is the Pineapple Queen. But as some of you may know, the Pineapple Queen had to move, and she's dealing with a lot of stuff right now. So she's going to be taking a hiatus. So instead of the Pineapple Queen today, my good friend Tex has graciously accepted an invitation to be on the podcast with me. How are you doing today, Tex?
Hey y'all. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, it's pretty cold. Cold down here in the south. Not happy about that. We need it to warm up.
Yeah, it's really cold here as well. Want to send prayers and to Texas, and hopefully it warms up real fast.
Yeah, the people down here aren't used to it. They really aren't.
No,
they're
not.
Down close to the Gulf, they really aren't.
No. We've noticed. So anyway, I was looking around for our next case, and I came across an article, and it said something like America's biggest serial killer. So of course, I had to click on it because I'm like, well, I have to read this, and it was not what I expected. It was something else. But it was still really fascinating, and I wound up watching a movie on it and a documentary on it, and reading all kinds of articles on it. And the consensus I got was this man was thought of to be anything like along the spectrum. He was considered America's biggest serial killer, all the way down to he didn't do anything wrong. He did nothing wrong. And in and including himself, he to this day doesn't think that he did anything wrong. What were your initial thoughts on the case, Tex?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. He there's people on both sides of those thought processes about this guy. I mean, I would hope to think in the long run that there are more people that have realized that this man is a monster, and this man does not believe at all that he did anything wrong. He thinks he was doing right all the way till today. He still thinks it.
Right. And so my approach to this podcast is this. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell the facts. I've said since the beginning that we're going to tell the stories that are interesting to me, that I find interesting, and I'm going to tell the truth about them. And and so this is the story of Kermit Gosnell. Let's get our groove on and talk some true crime. Disturbing content ahead. Listener discretion is advised. This is your warning.
Okay, so for just a little bit of background on Dr. Kermit Gosnell, he was the only son of a gas station operator and a government clerk on February the 9th, 1941 in Philadelphia. He graduated high school, Central High, 1959. University of Pennsylvania. Then he went to Dickinson College, where he got a bachelor's degree. He got his medical degree at Jefferson Medical School in 1966. Practiced medicine among the poor is what he wanted to do. However, he did have many offers to go to New York and several other places, but he turned them down because he wanted to work with people that did not have much in the way of income. He wanted to go back to where he was from so that he could help all these people.
Right. I believe it's called the Mantua.
Yes,
neighborhood.
Yeah, and he made a halfway house named after that.
Right.
He was married 3 times. Had 6 kids between all 3 wives. His last wife, her name was Pearl. She did work at the Women's Medical Society as a medical assistant. which I find odd, until she married Gosnell in 1990. So he had some medical background. He did become pro-abortion in the 1960s. And he did do a stint in New York, returned from that in 1972 to open his abortion clinic. So he's got, I mean, his as far as his schooling and all of that, he just went straight through. He had good, good education. He came from nothing and made something of himself. And in documentaries, you'll see where his cousins and all were, everybody was very proud of him.
The one thing I thought was a little weird is about Pearl. In the movie that I watched, the Gosnell movie, they didn't even bother to cast her. There was no actress of playing Pearl. So I don't know exactly, and I didn't read really what her attitude was after his crimes and stuff was, but they didn't even bother to cast her.
I didn't see much on her either. On the documentary didn't include her much, and it said that the kids. Now I'm assuming they were referring to his kids with her were being taken care of by family members. So, it's kind of interesting. I don't,
Right.
So I thought you would think this was interesting. Dr. Gosnell quoted, "As a physician, I'm very concerned about the sanctity of life. But it is for this precise reason that I provide abortions for women who want them and need them." That was a quote from him. After he said that, he did perform 15 televised second trimester abortions using the supercoil, which was invented by Dr. Harvey Korman. 9 out of those 15 women had complications, 3 of them severe. That was in 1972.
Yeah, it was a complete disaster.
It was. And televised disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. 1989 and 1993, the Pennsylvania Department of Health cited that there were no nurses in his recovery room, which is astonishing.
Well, it gets even worse.
It gets much worse. He just keeps on going. He was censored and fined several times throughout his career. 96, Pennsylvania and New York State for employing unlicensed personnel.
Right. Well, let's go back to 1993, though, because that's the pivotal point, I think, in this story is in 1993, there's an election and a Republican governor is replaced by a Democratic governor. And there's basically word comes down from on high that there will no longer be inspections of abortion clinics in Pennsylvania. And this starts kind of a snowball effect with his clinic and how he runs it, and I'm guessing maybe some greed, because what happens first of all is he starts performing late term abortions, basically illegal abortions.
Right.
He starts getting people getting referred to him specifically for this procedure. But also what happens is his facility gets turned into what's called a pill mill for narcotics, for illegal opioids and things, and Xanax and some other things. But and there's different kinds of pill mills. There's a pill mill where a doctor sees 300 patients. They see each patient for about 2 minutes, and they go, "Oh yeah, I got pain in my back, doc." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I can see that." And he goes, here's a prescription. And then 2 days later, you come in with and you sign a different name, and you come in and go, "Doc, I got knee pain." And he goes, "Yeah, I can see that." And he just writes you a prescription and sends you out the door, and it just goes like that over and over. That's not exactly what he was doing. He was basically signing prescriptions, and then he was selling them.
Right. He had a lot of narcotics. It was astronomical what he was doing. Oxycontins, Xanax, Demerol. He had a truckload of narcotics on top of the abortions, like you were talking about, the late terms.
And you were saying those cost like they were pretty expensive, right?
Right. He charged anywhere 1,600 to 3,000 each.
Right.
And was pulling in 10 to 15 grand a day.
That's
plus
unbelievable.
Not only in Pennsylvania, he was in Wilmington, Delaware, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Right.
So, with a medical degree, he was doing this with a medical degree. Didn't have any degrees in gynecology or obstetrics at all.
Well, he wasn't being watched.
No. When no one is watching you, it's like a free pass. Right.
You just do whatever you want to do, and so let's get into a little bit about how he gets caught. Is basically because of the narcotics, not the abortions. It's the narcotics. The feds basically get on to his illegal drug activity, and they start an investigation. And when they raided the clinic, and I don't have the exact date of when they raided the clinic, but when they raided the clinic, they weren't going in there really looking for abortion violations. They were looking for drugs. And
it was February 2010.
February of 2010, right?
Yeah, and they took the DEA, the FBI DEA, and the state police.
Well, in here, I just wanted to mention, like in 2002 or in 2001, a woman by the name of Marcelle Chung, she reports him to the Department of Health and to the state, basically, and they do nothing. They don't research it. In 2002, a woman dies in the clinic from a drug overdose. Basically, one of the nurses, if you can call them a nurse because they weren't licensed, gives her Demerol, too much Demerol, and she dies. And he lets the Department of Health know, hey, I had a patient die of a anesthesia overdose. And they go, okay, no investigation. So, there were some red flags along the way that something.
So many.
Yeah, that something wasn't right.
There were so many red flags. And the one that you mentioned, the employee, that was a detailed report. It was written out detailed. And it was written as a complaint. It wasn't written as, hey, I'm going to write this stuff down. This was a formal complaint.
Right.
That no one did anything about.
So I guess that takes us to, well, in 2009, he notifies, he says he wants to join the National Abortion Federation. The National Abortion Federation sends an evaluator out to his facility. The evaluator goes to evaluate the facility and says that it is the worst abortion clinic he has ever evaluated. But like before, he doesn't notify any oversight agency, anyone that can do anything about it. He just tells his superiors at the National Abortion Federation, I guess. He just tells them that, and nothing comes of it. They don't do anything.
So the FBI raid, February 2010. I think we said before, DEA and the state police, Philadelphia. Also, the state's dangerous drug offenders unit investigation also revealed suspicious death of the patient Monger, which was 2009. That brought to light the use of untrained staff, use of powerful drugs without supervision. That because they went in for all this with the drugs, that brought in the Pennsylvania Department of Health, because the FBI, they went in to look for, with this drug business, and lo and behold, they walked in the door and it just blew them away what they found.
A nightmare.
A nightmare. They described this clinic. They used words which I'm sure they were being kind, as filthy, deplorable, outdated, horrendous, the worst they had ever seen. There was a cat that was covered with fleas. There was cat feces laying
litter
around.
boxes.
Yeah. They said there were semi-conscious women scheduled for abortions in the waiting room or laying in the recovery room. These women were sitting in dirty recliners covered with blood-stained blankets, all of them sedated by unlicensed staff. There were non-sterile instruments all over the place that they used from patient to patient. They found one pair of scissors in the entire place, one pair. Then they found bags. They found bags of things. They found these were the remains from the abortions. There were fetal remains everywhere. They found some in milk jugs, orange juice cartons, even cat food containers.
Why?
They felt like I guess he ran out of places to put them.
I know, it's just...
It's amazing. They felt like that 10 to 20% were older than 24 weeks, which is illegal.
Right.
Then they found some rows of jars that, for some reason, had severed feet. No one ever understood why that was there. In all, they found 45 fetuses were recovered. They say that 2, probably 3, had been viable. In some cases, there had been surgical incisions were made at the base of the fetal skulls. And so, in other words, the older fetuses that were born alive, he killed.
Right, he cut
because they were alive. He delivered a baby.
Right, he cut their spinal cord.
Yeah, he cut them. Yeah, and so that is just, it's just monstrous. It's
and you said you hadn't heard, but they also raided his house.
No, I had not heard that.
Right. Well, they went to his house because they got a search warrant for his house. They found fetuses, the bags. So he was bringing them home with him for some reason. When they came in to raid the house, he went down and started making breakfast, and then he got on his piano and started playing classical music while they're raiding his house. This guy is a complete sociopath. They found a bin full of cash, money. They found, and then they went outside of his house, and he had one of those basements with like the double doors that open up, and you go down like, back, like in the old time movies, and there were dead cats down there.
Oh my God.
There were ants and maggots and stuff and this was under his house, or in his basement, basically. It was just disgusting.
The smell. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, lo and behold, they did suspend his license February the 22nd, 2010. Thank goodness. He was arrested January the 9th of 2011. But that's what it took, finally, for the Department of Health to go in there. Otherwise, had the drugs not been a thing.
Yeah, he'd probably still be doing it to this day.
He probably, I mean, reporting cases. I mean, the deaths that he caused of women, and they couldn't even get everything that he had done. They couldn't substantiate because the records were falsified.
Right. He had employees. He basically had all of the employees working at his facility. Just about not a single one of them was qualified to be doing the job that they were performing. He had
definitely not. He had
unlicensed.
15.
What's that?
One was a 15-year-old given anesthesia.
Right.
They didn't have a license. They didn't know what they were doing, and they weren't supervised.
Right. He wasn't there a lot of the time when these patients were getting when they were given the anesthesia and things like this. He wasn't even he'd be at home getting ready to come in.
Nor did he care.
Yeah, and he didn't really seem to care.
But yet, he still thinks he was right. So the trial started for Gosnell on March 18th, 2013. The grand jury submitted a 280-page report. He was convicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count involuntary manslaughter, 21 felony counts of illegal late-term abortions, 211 counts of violating the 24-hour informed consent law under criminal for the state of Pennsylvania. One of those was first-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter, 7 counts total. Under federal, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, distribution and aiding and abetting the distribution of oxycodone, maintaining a place for the illegal distribution of controlled substances, 12 counts total. To which all of this, on May the 14th, Gosnell struck a deal, of course. He agreed to waive all his appeal rights regarding his convictions the day before. And then on May 15th, 2013, Gosnell was sentenced to 3 life terms. He does, however, think that this will still be somehow overturned because he believes that since he's been in prison and has read the Bible, that life begins when first breath is taken. And
he
yeah.
Okay, dude.
And I believe that.
And I just wanted to go back for just a second because we didn't read a lot about the trial. There's not a ton written about the trial. It's hard to kind of get an idea of how the trial went. But the Gosnell movie did a really good job. I thought that, especially the actor that played him during the trial, he sat at his table pretty smug. He had a smile on his face almost the whole time. He was, because like you said, he didn't think he did anything wrong, so he didn't think he had anything to worry about. And actually, the prosecution was not doing all that well at the start. They brought in their own another abortion clinic doctor, and they said kept asking her well, what's your procedure for a baby that's born alive? And she basically was like, well, that doesn't happen because we put the needle in and we stop the heart, and then the baby comes out, or then the thing comes out, and but the lawyer kept pressing this doctor but what happens if mistakes get made? What happens if a baby comes out and it's what's your procedure? What do you do? And the woman basically said, well, we provided comfort. So that's their procedure. They just basically put it in a bed, like one of those baby beds, and they let it die. They just leave it there till it dies. And the lawyer was like, well, wouldn't it be more humane to I don't know, maybe facilitate the death in some fashion? Wouldn't that be more humane? Maybe snip its spinal cord with some scissors? And this got a big objection from the prosecution, and the lawyer was like, I withdraw the question, Your Honor, blah, blah, blah. But it had already been put in the jury's mind, well, maybe this guy is being more humane than what the actual procedure is and this and that. But what ultimately sunk this guy is they found a witness that worked for him. She testified that she had been present when babies had been born alive, and the baby was crying for like 20 minutes, so they know it took was breathing and all that. And then this woman was like a photographer. She liked to take pictures, bunch of pictures all the time. But this is even before the selfie probably was real popular. And they said, well, did you ever take a picture of one of these babies? And she said, yes. And then they showed the picture to the jury. And that's when the jury saw that picture, they were like, oh, sorry, dude, that's a baby. You killed a baby.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Right.
That put the brakes on it.
Right. And so, and if anybody wants to, you can actually view that. We're not going to put that picture here on the podcast. Normally, when we do our podcast, we put up some pictures to kind of show what we're discussing. We're not going to do that. YouTube, we wouldn't last 5 seconds on YouTube if we did that. But what I can do, and it's up to you, it's not going to traumatize you for life to look at this picture, but you also cannot unsee this picture. So it's up to, I'm going to leave it up to you. If you go to gosnellmovie.com, baby boy A is what you type in, and you can view the photo. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's that's just something everybody can, you can decide that for yourself because you should know if you can handle those types of pictures or not. If you can't handle it, please don't look at it.
Right.
Please don't. Because, you don't want to have to think about that kind of a picture.
And I think also you mentioned that he waived his appeals. He waived his appeals because, and I'm not sure you said this, to avoid the death penalty.
Right, because he thinks he did this whole time he thinks he did the right thing. He thinks everything he did.
Yeah, he
does not believe that the way he did it was wrong.
Yeah, he's a narcissistic sociopath.
He's in his head. I don't know how many people he's got in there, but they're not right, because he was doing things that caused people to, people that came to see him, that even changed their mind about the procedure. He just went ahead and did it anyway, and caused some of these people where they couldn't have children for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
these were young people.
I found it interesting in the interviews with some of the girls in that documentary.
I said it was sad.
Yeah, it was sad, but it was also kind of interesting because I remember one of them saying nobody wants to talk about abortion. The only time people talk about abortion is when it's time to vote, and other than that, nobody really. It's kind of a taboo, and nobody really wants to talk about it. And I found that to be kind of profound because she's right. She was right. This was a complete failure, top to bottom, of government and oversight. It should have never happened, and it was really the women that ended up having it be where they can never have children again. How do you compensate that?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't give them anything back. I mean, you can't give them that back. So after Kermit Gosnell was convicted, he is spending his time at the State Correctional Institution at Huntingdon, Pennsylvania, which is located in central Pennsylvania.
And so there's some legislation and some regulations that have since been passed and put into place so that this never happens again. It's long and boring. I'm not going to go over all of it, but basically like I said, they passed bills and put some regulations in to where they hope that something like this never happens again. I know on the documentary or at the end of the movie, I can't remember which one it was, but they went to the facility, a Planned Parenthood facility in Wilmington, Delaware. They went into that facility and they found they had a bunch of violations as well, and they got that place kind of cleaned up. So there's some good has come of this as far as like at least protecting the women, the unfortunate women that feel they have to utilize these facilities. And that's good, I guess. That's the only silver lining that I found. What about you? Any final thoughts on looking at this case and this jackass?
Yeah, well, he was clearly a monster, and whatever kind of psychotic thing that went on inside his brain, I don't think, that's between him and God. I don't think reading the Bible in prison makes it right. He clearly thinks it does, but
Well,
he's where he needs to be, and
he thinks, but even by his own words, that life begins at the first breath. Well, he violated that as well.
Right, he did. He just, it's like he doesn't function in some part of his brain. But
yeah,
he can't do it anymore. So
yeah,
we can be thankful for that. He ruined many, many, many lives, hundreds of lives, hundreds. And he's not gotten away with it now. He won't get away with it anymore. And in the end, he will pay for it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We want to make sure everybody follows us on our platforms. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube page, especially. We really appreciate that. And once again, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank y'all. Thank you a bunch for listening. And thanks, Mace, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Peace, love, and stay groovy.